Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, folks. How is everyone in CFN land? Always nice to see the regulars here. Sonia, so nice to see you. I figured you'd be out on the water hooking more rock bass. Saw that beautiful rock bass you caught. That was awesome. Corey's in the house. How you doing, Corey? Tony's here. Always a pleasure to see you, Tony. Stephen is in the house. Dean Howard, yeah, baby. Will Curtis, nice to see you this evening as well. Mark, thanks so much for your second donation. I really appreciate that. Shane, wanted to mention to you, Next Gen is this Sunday in Keswick. I can get you the address if you need the address to get there, but I know that you wanted to help out. So this Sunday in Keswick, folks that want to volunteer, we'd love to have you there for 7:30, 8 o'clock. There'll be some last minute rod tying and what have you, but we'll announce a little bit more of that later this evening. Bob has been busy. Always a pleasure to see you, Bob. Thanks so much for showing up. As I said, you folks, you make this Monday just because you're here. And I'll tell you this, we don't have a lot planned in terms of content, but I know the three backstage, they're going to help me out. It's been a busy weekend. As I said, the last bit trying to get ready for our Next Gen event, which we will be talking about. But Nick, how you doing, my friend? Manny's in the house. Yeah, baby, looking good. I can't look any worse, Manny. That's all I can say. It's only downhill from here. Sparkus is in the house. How are you doing, Sparkus? I bet last couple of days have been tough out in the water. That wind, especially on Sunday, man alive. We were down in Dunville, which we'll get to as well. Did that ever kick up? Brad Norris is in the house. Brad, you will want to watch the video. It'll give you a good feeling inside. That's all I got to say. Jeremy's in the house. Nice to see you, Jeremy. James Shembray got to bite. What's up, bud? Got it. Fantastic, Shane. Appreciate that. Lloyd's in the house. Always on the ball, man. I tell you, Lloyd, thanks so much for your sharing. Thanks so much for your support. And to all of you, what day are you traveling to Duberville? Wednesday. I leave Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for bringing that up. There is so much to talk about in terms of what is going on. First and foremost, thanks so much for all of you for joining us tonight. Unfortunately, Moose is not going to be with us. He's up at the cottage dealing with something that he probably doesn't want to deal with right now, but unfortunately he has to. So we're thinking of you, Moose. Hopefully it goes well. Also, Steve will not be with us tonight. He is at Emma, his daughter's rugby game. So we want to wish Emma a good game. How do you say to a young female who loves rugby to, break a leg? Because clearly that's not what you're supposed to say. But nonetheless, Emma, we're thinking of you. Hope you do well tonight. And Steve, you are going to be sorely missed, but we will manage to get by. First and foremost, I've got my co-star here when it comes to the CFN FishOFF, Mike Consul. He is backstage. Let's bring him up front. Mike, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing good, and if you like Shimano, we got some good news for everyone that's participating in the CFN Fish Off, and for those who have not registered yet.
And I will say this, Mike, as you've announced already this week, lots of Shimano prizes that are going to be available. I was able to sign up, or at least get 2 young anglers in the Dunville Kids Derby. They're signing up as we speak. And I told them about this. We put this together last year at the end of the CFN Fish Off. This is from our wonderful fam jam over at Ugly Boys Baits. This is what I call the CFN Fish Off starter pack. Anything and everything you could ever need to catch a multitude of species is in this box. So big shout out to Ugly Boys Baits. But needless to say, if you are one of the top 100, the first 100 to sign up, you are going to be eligible for that prize pack that we'll be sending out hopefully a day before the event starts, so that you can get it in time to target those species that perhaps you've never targeted before.
Yep, it might be tough to do it a day before because we'd have to do the draw. But let me show the people how to sign up. So all you got to do is go to anglersatlas.com, and then you will see this page. There's a huge event right now. If you're into walleye fishing, there's a huge event going on across the Midwest in several provinces. If you scroll down, you'll see Multi-Species Madness, which is part of the CFN Fish Off, and then the CFN Fish Off right here. We're updating the prize lists, and first 100 people who are registered get to be part of that Ugly Boys prize pack. So right now, Scotty, 63, and I just posted it on the weekend. So I posted it yesterday, actually, with all the prizes. So 63 people already signed up. That means
that looks good then, Mike. That if we hit 100, we might be able to get this out before. Like if we
that is true.
Yeah, if we get the first 100, and I didn't realize we're at 63. But hold the phone. Hold up 1 minute, Mike.
Yep.
Did we miss something?
What is that?
Was it your birthday this past weekend?
It was. That's why I only posted all the prizes yesterday, I think, because it was my birthday, number 48 on Saturday. So I didn't get to go fishing, hopefully this week, but I'm yet to catch my my first fish as a 48-year-old.
Dude, you're 48 years old.
This is he, 48.
Hey, all right. Show of hands, because I can guarantee you're going to win this hands down. Ladies included, because let's be inclusive, Mike. Let's be totally inclusive. Is there currently anyone watching or a part of CFN that's as pretty as this guy and is 48 years old? I think not.
48. I am excited to hit 50. I'm definitely excited to hit 50.
Oh,
and then
boy.
when people ask, "Hey, how old are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm 50." But let's
Dude,
move
you're
on.
48 years old. I'm 128. I tell you, good for you, bud. You look great. You look fantastic. And I bet you when you hit 50, unless you run a couple more CFN fish offs and start pulling out the rest of your hair, I think you're going to be just fine, dude. I think you're going to be just fine.
So yeah, let's talk about the CFN fish off. I'll share my screen right here. And it's all about building community, getting as many families involved as possible, and education. I consider myself a multi-species guy now, but it's only because of the CFN Fish Off. I was a bass guy, a pike guy, but it was helping organize these events and participating in the CFN Fish Off when I realized how many other enjoyable species out there to catch.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, Mike, the CFN Fish Off really helped this past weekend. Jay and I are going to talk a little bit about it. And I laid credit to our team, our judges, yourself, and of course the CFN Fish Off, because it has really helped teach us how to identify fish. And there was a buffalo caught that was, people had questions, and I'm really glad they brought it up. But they had questions about the fact that it could have been one of those dreaded grass carps, those Asian carps that everybody's worried about. We'll call them grass carps because we don't want to call them Asian carp, but they weren't 100% sure. And of course, when you have that many people there and on stage and you're taking all kinds of pictures, somebody finally said, whoa, before we go any further, what kind of fish is that? And without any hesitation, I was able to say that's a buffalo. In fact, it was a 27.5-inch
Ooh.
buffalo, 17 plus pounds. It was a really big fish, a really great catch. And the young girl that caught it really had no real interest in really being there. But I'll tell you, when she hooked that fish, she's hooked for life. And I think she's going to be signing up in the fish shop. She got hooked that way. Great story.
In the fish off, there's only been 2 buffalo ever caught, I believe. And the first one was, I think he's watching, Mr. Shane Richard.
That is correct.
The first person to catch a buffalo within the fish off flow. So that's pretty awesome. And I've never caught one either.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mike, was it an Ontario record?
Oh, we'd have to ask Shane. I think I remember something along those lines, but it was I was like, what the heck is that? Because I've never seen one before prior to that. So it was pretty amazing. So for those of you that want to register, it starts Canada Day long weekend. So Saturday of Canada Day long weekend, which is only 18 days away. Make sure to sign up, and your first 100 people get to be part of the Ugly Boys draw. Now,
you've heard it here first from the one and only Shane Richard. It was, but it's now broken, so it's no longer the record. Wow.
So, Scotty, this is the poster I showed last week.
Yep.
But it had to be announced. But now we're ready to announce all the prizes. So remember, register, first 100, you get into that Super Ugly Boys draw. But let's go into it. And you probably can't see it right here, so let me zoom in to all the categories. First off, our multi-species draw. If you catch 5 species, that will potentially have you win a Sedona reel. If you catch 10 species, that'll get you into the Mirabel draw. But that gives you 2 ballots into the Sedona draw and then 1 ballot into the Mirabel draw. And then if you catch 15 species, that gives you 1 ballot to potentially win a Stratic, Scotty, a Stratic for catching 15 different species. But then that'll also give you 2 ballots, 1 ballot into the Mirabel draw, and then 3 ballots into the Sedona draw. So every multiple of 5 will give you ballots into the 5 species draw. Every multiple of 10 will give you a ballot into the Mirabel draw, and every multiple of 15. So if you catch 30 species, you'll have 2 ballots into the Stratic reel. So you have a really good chance to win a Stratic because not a lot of people are able to hit that 15 species mark.
No, 100%. Great.
Next,
some great prizes. Holy smokes.
We have our bonus draws. So for all the kids, every single fish, if you catch 100 sunfish, let's say 100 bluegill, that gives you 100 ballots into our kids draw, and you could win a next save combo. You could also win a next save combo by catching as many fish as you can within a week. So we have 5 weeks in this tournament. So if you catch 68 fish in week 1, that gives you 68 ballots in week 1, and you might win a next save combo. And then week 2, we clear the slate. And then so whoever catches fish in week 2 gives you a ballot into that draw. And then we're giving away another Stratic, and that's our Show Your Shimano draw. All you have to do is catch as many fish as you want, show the fish, show a Shimano product, and post that on Facebook. That could be either with the app or without the app. So for those who might not want to use a app or doesn't have a phone that can handle the app, the Show Your Shimano draw could be with the app or without the app. All you have to do is post your photo and your video showing a Shimano product on Facebook.
Awesome. Beautiful.
And then last is our multi-species madness prizes. So for those, again, you know what? Those are awesome prizes, but I want to put the money on the line and I want to show my angling prowess. There is a $50 registration fee, but with that fee, you win a cash prize. So we did the math. If there's 100 people that sign up, the cash prize is $2,000. And on top of that, you win a Stratic. So
what?
So it's $50 entry fee, but the cash prize is $2,000 if we get 100 anglers. But it's a percentage of the amount of anglers that register. So
that's impressive, though, Mike. Wow.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And so the way the multi-species madness works is you got to catch 10 species, and it's the longest total length across 10 species. So if I catch a 30-inch pike, and then an 18-inch bass, and then maybe I'm lucky enough to get a 40-inch muskie. I would add up all those 10 species, and whoever has the longest gets a Stratical automatically, and then 40% of the cash pool. So we got prizes for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, including a large fish draw, which is any fish that is at the top of the leaderboard gives you one ballot into that Mirabel reel draw. And then if you catch any fish that's 12 inches or longer, that gives you a ballot into our foot-long draw. So prizes galore, Scotty.
I see that.
Shimano galore.
100%. Corey's actually asking an interesting question. Does the multi-species madness, does it include saltwater fish as well?
That will only be freshwater fish for multi.
Only freshwater. Great question. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate that. That's awesome, Mike. And we are going to start, obviously, Tourney Tuesdays with questions, explanations, ways to register, what you need to have with you when you're out doing your thing with the fish off. Because as much as people just want to get out fishing, sometimes they forget the proper tape measure. Sometimes they forget the proper, to bring a camera and a backup battery. So we'll go over all that. And I think we're probably going to start not next Tuesday, Mike, but maybe the Tuesday after.
Yeah, let's do the Tuesday right before the start. So the Tuesday before the Saturday start. And we invite everyone who has questions to come join us. And we'll probably be able to do the draw at the latest on that date. But we could probably do the draw next Monday, Scotty.
I have a feeling we might be able to, Mike. Yeah, that's awesome. If we're at 63 anglers already, I can guarantee there's going to be at least 4 or 5 more that sign up tonight that I had the pleasure of meeting yesterday in Dunnville. So kudos to everyone, and we look forward to seeing who wins. As I said, the Ugly Boys prize pack. It is a multi-species pack that we put together after the last fish off, and anything and everything that you could possibly need, I believe, is in this box to catch a multitude of species. So,
yep. So whether it's multi-species madness or anglers or the CFN fish off, which is free, go to anglersatlas.com/events. And Tony's asking, can it be paid by e-transfer? The answer is yes, you can.
Right on.
So thanks, everyone. Have an awesome show. I'll be watching in the background.
And enjoy your happy birthday hangover, Mike. Congratulations to me for getting to 48, and I can assure you, you're going to get a 48 more for sure. Because I tell you, I could only wish to look that good.
I wanted to thank everyone who sent birthday wishes. I have a lot of friends, but I think there was more CFNers that said happy birthday than my actual group of friends. So thanks.
Don't
everyone.
You love that? Don't you? As I said, my wife looks at me and she's like, What is this? What's all this dinging? And I said, well, it is October 6th. I can't thank these folks enough. And again, thanks to Facebook for reminding us the majority of the time. Mike, I totally forgot. I didn't see it. So
do you want to see Michael Jr.? You haven't seen Michael Jr. in a while. There she is.
Smokes.
Look at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You want to catch something? Look, she just, it's magnetic.
Holy.
Right there.
Almost like,
ta-da!
I don't know who looks older. I'm going to put it to the audience. Who looks older right now? I don't know. It's
all right. I know you got a lot of guests, a lot of topics to talk about. Thanks a lot.
Take care, dude. All the best, Mike. Thanks for doing that. Okay, to continue on, obviously that is CFN Fish Off News, which we will be bringing more to you as we get closer to the date. Next Gen, for all those who have bought a ticket, and there is a lot of you. Again, I can't thank you enough for all those who have purchased tickets and repurchased tickets. We have one more week. We had a board of directors meeting, and they felt that just because we haven't hit the $1,000 mark, some of these prizes have a lot of value, so they'd like us to sell a few more tickets. And I can understand. I understand the sponsors. I mean, they want it to, get as much bang for their buck. So we are going to extend it the rest of this week, and come Monday next week, we will be doing the announcement, and we will be drawing the winner of the prizes. So again, that is Next Gen, and of course, I can't thank all these folks who have donated all those who've supported, shared, pushed it, promoted it. You guys have done a fantastic job. And I am happy to say you CFNers are at the top. I mean, it's all CFNers. There's 4 or 5 notables that are new to our community, but it's always the go-to. So I'm so glad I'm going to be able to reward you CFNers for that. Horwood Lake Lodge, they're looking for your butt to get booked in a bed, but not for the CFN retreat because that is jam-packed full. But if you're looking to, get a great experience that would be very close to a fly-in type trip, I highly recommend you get a hold of Doris and Warren up at Horwood Lake Lodge so that you can have a multitude of days just like this. And of course, if you want to join us up at the one and only Camp McIntosh, it is my second home away from home. Horde being my first, Camp McIntosh being my second. We'd love to see you up there amongst this cast of characters. That's everything you need to know to get a hold of Andre and Tracy. There is all but one cabin left. These are the details you need to know. For those who are already booked, thank you so much. But for those who are on the fence, not really sure, it is late September 27th to the 2019. Go up early. You can almost stay late too if you wish. You can extend your vacation either way, but please get a hold of Andre or Tracy so that you can be amongst this cast of characters.
Yeah, baby! McIntosh 2023.
Manny says, yeah, baby, indeed. Last but not least, I only have the one more announcement, and this happened this past weekend in a wonderful spot that I have not had the privilege of visiting on a regular basis, but it was Dunnville, and they celebrate the Mud Cat Festival. It goes on the first weekend of June, or typically the first weekend of June. Starts on the Friday night, I believe, and they have fireworks, they have car shows, they have all kinds of things, and they wrap everything up with the kids fishing derby. And for all those who were in attendance, James Hootby, Brent and Heather Bochuk, Michelle, who put on a fantastic show, her husband Adam, who is a saint. My Lord, that man is an absolute saint. If I ever fall ill, if I ever am in trouble, Adam, you're one of the first people I'm going to call because you are salt of the earth, my friend. And to all else who helped out, Chris Thompson, there was a host of characters that made this all happen, but the most important thing is seeing all the kids smile. So have a quick look at this.
Before you know where I am, I'm down here in Dunnville at the Mud Cat Festival, and today is the kids fishing derby. Let's join Michelle and a host of other great volunteers, and let's see if any of the kids end up catching something like this.
At the prizes for the amazing kids fishing derby. Okay, wait till you check this out. Wait till you check it out. It's insane this year. There's so many prizes, okay? So, I don't know if you can see back there, but there is like over 100 rods that have been donated from different like fishing vendors. This is Michelle. She is the fishing derby director. And no, she's amazing. She has done so much to bring this here for all the kids this year. So thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about the conservation and what you're trying to do?
Myself, along with my husband and a few of the other charter captains here, felt it was important to teach kids about conservation. So we brought in Aaron Barber. He is our conservation officer. We're trying to teach the importance of catch and release, not just taking what you can from the water, also giving back. So we're doing all the fish that are weighed in today and measured must be released live in order to be eligible for one of our awesome prizes.
We got Big Jim coming up right after his intro.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
There he is, the one and only
Hold on, buddy.
Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing, bud?
Hanging in there.
Attaboy.
Hanging in
Well,
there.
it was a weekend that you would have loved. You would have loved to have been a part of it to see it. But the biggest takeaway, Jim, that you would really have appreciated was the camaraderie amongst the kids as they were calling out names to come out and get one of the various 150 odd rods that were donated by a host of characters, including Pal Castings, Canadian Tire, and CFN. They were cheering each other on, and the group grew. So as Brent was announcing the names, they would be like, "We want Aiden. We want Aiden." And you had like 20 at the end of it. You had 20, 30 kids screaming as loud as they possibly could, just for a kid to come up and get a prize that they were going to get anyway. But it was just so cool. It was so friggin' cool to see.
I was watching all the little kids running around there when you were showing the little video there. It's pretty cool. Really cool.
Absolutely. Well, with Father's Day right around the corner, and of course, bass season opening up. Yeah, I was going to say, are your spidey senses tingling?
I'll tell you one thing. The cabbage is so full down the back there. I've already just told myself that I'm going down the back with, 65-pound braid, a 1-ounce sinker, and pay the money and take my chance. I'm supposed to get the boat Friday. It's in the queue to be rigged. So
Yes.
yeah. So I won't have it for the weekend, but the boys will come over next week and put it in for me. And it'll, well, you know where it sits down there.
Yeah.
Right beside the Swans.
That's right. Oh, Jeremy's asking a question. No. Oh, I couldn't even fill this man's shoes. Scotty, are you like the Santa Claus of fishing for kids? Does Big Jim still hold that title? 100%. 100% the crown. You just can't see it. It's an invisible
He knows
crown.
where his bread's buttered.
All I can say is I might be eating more cookies than I should, but no.
Were you?
Yeah, the title remains with our beloved Big Jim.
Hey, you want to see something really cool? I think I told you about last time I went to the doctor.
Yeah.
She sits me down and she says to me, she says, "Jim, I really want you to she says, just humor me, okay?"
Okay.
And I said to her, yeah, what do you want me to do? She said, I want you to use one of the glucose monitors, the little thing that you inject in your arm.
Yeah.
And it's all on your phone, eh? So I don't know if anybody out there knows anything about this, but if my A1C has had things in the past where it was a little bit out of whack, and that's my A1C now.
I'm going to assume that's good. I hope it's good.
Yeah, she was absolutely ecstatic with it. Like blew them away. But the thing that really got them happy was this. And I don't know if you can see the colors. Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
So 91% of the time my blood has been where it's supposed to be.
Wow.
And for being diabetic with insulin, that just proves that there's no shit going in my body. This doesn't lie. This is an average of 90 days.
Yeah.
You see, there's just one little flip there of yellow. It's 9%. And it was so funny. The first time I went back to them after I had this on my arm, first thing they do is go to all the analytics.
Oh, wow.
Like it's the same as your blood test. Like they had the blood test done to see if everything would correlate the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was within like 0.1%.
Oh, that's awesome, Jim.
Yeah, so I don't have to bother going for the blood test for my sugar anymore. I
Good.
just bring the phone, they plug in, they download it, they have all the information. So, saves me a trip to Smith Falls twice a year.
Beautiful. Oh, that's exciting to hear.
With sugar out of your diet, Scotty, I can't believe. Like I know I'm getting older and everything, but the clarity that's back in my life on stuff, it's scary.
A lot could be said about refined sugar. That it is the devil's power.
It's poison. It's killing everybody. It's horrid shit, eh?
100%.
Horrid shit. But
now I know with the grass getting thick in the back, you're going to have some concerns fishing it the way you like. But I do know that you've got some stuff that you wanted to show us with bass season upcoming. And of course, it being Father's Day, some great gift ideas that you might be sharing as well.
Yeah, I got one of the. Well, I've actually got two, but that's the new Methanium DC70, and you can like I haven't like all the catcher's mitt, but you can see how small it is. He says to me, "Yeah, but so you're going to use that with little titsy lures and stuff like that? It's not strong enough." And I just laughed at him. I said, "The technology that's in this, they've trickled down almost every." Technology. In fact, I'm gonna read them off to you because I couldn't. There's actually 12 of them in there now. So in that reel, they have the Hagani body, the frame. They have micro module, X ship, Hagani body with a frame, the IDC bearing, silent tune, core solid. They have an MGL spool, cross carbon drag. Silent anti-rust bearing on the other one is a super free spool. But some of the things that are really cool, one of the things I really like too is when you hear them talk about the micro module, what that is on the gears.
Okay.
The teeth on the gears, they've made them so fine that I forget how many it is, but as the gears roll into each other, the teeth are so fine that there's like 10 of them at a time or something like that are actually engaged. And that's what gives those reels the solid, smooth feeling. It's not just one, spaces like this where and this is what the guy did that showed me. He says, if your gears fit together like that, the teeth, there's lots of room for them to wobble.
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, but imagine if you cut all those spaces into about a fifth of what they were. So you had about 30 fingers here. When they fit together, they're so fine. It's tight. There's no movement. There's no movement in it at all. And that's one of the things that I really like about it. And it's a DC too. I don't know whether I can get to, I don't know whether you can hear it. You could just barely hear it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A little spin of the DC. Yeah. But it's a 70. It's wondrous. It's so sleek looking.
And I would assume, Jim, would this be a great example of the kind of reel that you should be using if casting with fluff?
Oh no, fluff's all spinning and light line.
It's all spinning. You couldn't cat with that.
Couldn't begin to.
Okay.
Couldn't get to. Yeah, no. Fluff is that. That would be like going out with this. You're looking at lures that are a little bit bigger. But then that's what they got the bait finesse system for, because they made a spool that's so light,
Yeah.
so shallow that it just engages immediately because there's no weight to start turning. So you can cast. I mean, I went out the back 2 years ago when we first got the BFS stuff in the fall, and I was throwing little, like, well, stuff the likes of this, not this because it wasn't even around yet, but I could cast things like Hiroshi's little titsy little jig here,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is really, really small. And, you know, I had these teeny little weeny chatterbaits I was throwing. Like the blade weighs nothing, but the body is about a 16th of an ounce. The jig head, like, that's really small. You don't realize how small it is. Again, you know, put it against my hand. It's like,
Right.
teeny. Yeah. It's like,
Now,
capsule
what
teeny.
pound test can a reel like that hold? Is it
5 to 8?
like 8?
Yeah, 5 to 8.
5 to 8? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
Wow.
show some weed on that. That means I was using it.
Now, the other question I have to you, for a reel that size, like, do you buy a monster 7-foot rod or
You want?
you want? Yeah. Okay.
And I think you're going out here to fish. Now, you're not going to want to go throw big giant swim baits with it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I actually did was I got a 7-11 rod this year.
Mhm.
I got myself a 300 tranks to put on
Okay.
because I really wanted to get into fishing some of these big swim baits.
Yeah.
Because I'm the kind of person that doesn't mind. I'll fish all day to catch two fish if they're both 5 pounds or something like that.
Right.
And I don't mind going out throwing, you know, great big giant baits. And it's a hoot when you get bit on them because they're always bigger fish, and they just seem to, when they come to get something bigger like that, they just seem to crush it. They
That's
just
awesome.
seem to crush it. They come for it. But no, it's awesome stuff, as you know, and it's you know, we still make all our own, you know, our stuff in our own factories, and we always will, and that's one of the keys to. I was talking to Billy Scullion, who's basically the boss in Canada, and he's over in Japan right now, seeing what they're going to have in 2027. I think he said the stuff they're working towards.
That far ahead. Holy.
25 to 27 or something like that.
Wow.
Some of it's just theory right now, but they're definitely working toward it. Yeah.
That's impressive stuff.
Now, there's another one of the lures that they brought out. There's a real rage in tail spinners right now, and they've got a little one here called the BT Spin.
Oof.
It's a really cool looking thing. It's got the little ball bearing swivel on the tail there. Just the one hook on it. It's nice and heavy too. It's 5/8 of an ounce, so you can throw it on whatever you want. But you can see it's not big. It's small.
I know JP did a profile on that exact bait that you're
And
holding.
the cool thing about it is all the tail spinners come through the water like the derrick goop. They come through the water, and the tail spinner just spins at the back. This thing, when it's coming through the water, the bait is sort of swimming and wobbling around back and forth, and it's really, really cool. But it's another one of those things out there that it's just different. It's something that's different, and the quality on Shimano's stuff is.
Well, I was going to mention that because the one thing
quality on them is like beyond the stars.
So it's not like Rapala used to be when you'd have to tune it. It wouldn't necessarily, like, every single one that came out of the package would run true. You'd have to sometime.
Yeah, some crankbaits you have to do that with. Yeah, most of them. Now, I have not found one of the Macbeths that I had to tune.
No.
I've not found one. And you know, I'm a stickler with my crankbaits.
Mm-hmm.
They're running a straight line or they ain't going in the water. And then another thing that I got here is the BT Bait 99, which is a really cool little tidbit of a little
Holy smokes.
And it has this little tail that's made out of that 3X stuff. And it fits into a groove with a little knob on the end, and it comes with extras, but you shouldn't need it because it doesn't pull off like other ones. The panfish get a hold of it. But I can't. Yikes. The hooks
is that a sinking bait, Jim, or is it a suspending bait? What kind of bait is that?
They have floaters. This one's a floater. They have floaters and sinkers. But cool, and they've got scale boost on it. You can see it. You can see the scales. It's really, really cool. But this here to me for smallmouth fishing, the size of that little thing, I think you can fish this on a BFS rod. You can fish it on a BFS rod, or you can just fish it on a spinning rod and make it easy if you want.
That looks really sexy. Wow.
If you don't have to do things the way guys that spend, 6 days a week using a bait caster that can cast it, because you know it's not going to work out well for you if you're not used to it, even if you have the proper stuff.
True
Takes
enough.
a long time to get used to casting light lures.
It's not often too that you see something as refined as that with a hard body bait and a plastic tail. I know there's some companies out there that have.
Oh,
come out-
it's really coming now, because like last year, one of the ones that I did so well without the back here, especially late in the fall, was the Blast Bone Junior. This little guy here. It's a little
Yeah.
bit bigger though,
Yeah.
but it's got the tail. It comes with the extra tails too. But its tail fits in place, and then there's pins that go through, right?
Yeah.
So there's no pins. I haven't lost the tail off one of these yet. Haven't lost the tail, but that's a real shallow runner. Just dives down about a foot or two. Lots of rattles in it. Makes a lot of noise, and it's it's a fair sized.
Bobble gave me one to take up to Tazen Lake for the pike.
Oh,
It
one
was
of the big ones.
Oh yeah, fire tiger color on it.
Oh, they'd be all over that.
But it was so, even the guide said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, it's from Shimano. It's a prototype." Bob wanted me to try it. He said, "Here, I'm going to give you a bait that is a surefire bet for pike." And yeah, bang on, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah, something like this. It's pricey, but it's it's Father's Day, and it's a special time. Once a year we get our day, and lo and behold, I have a buddy of mine, and it's really funny. He doesn't have any kids. And on Father's Day, he always goes out and buys himself like a Stella and an NRX or something.
Jeez.
And he always says, "That's the little buggers I never had." I always wanted to have kids. Always wanted to have kids, and he never did. And I don't know. He's a great guy. I think he would have been a fantastic father, but it just never worked out right. He, with his work, and his wife worked very. They were very professional people. They traveled a lot, and they made tons of dough, but they never had any kids. So now he spends all the money he made on himself and his wife. So it's good.
Nothing wrong with that, but
yeah, and he's got more than you could ever look at spending. So.
I was just going to say that could be a surefire way to spend your entire Father's Day alone.
Yeah. So I don't know whether I mentioned to you. We talked about moving. Did I tell you that we decided to stay here?
Yep.
Yeah, we are going to stay. So instead of cashing out on the house, we're just going to do a reverse mortgage, pay off the few bucks that are left on the mortgage, and pay off a couple of credit cards and the rest of the truck out there, and it'll free up about $3,000 a month. So the next, I'm so simple, it's stupid the way I live. I'm not off on vacation or, wearing $600 shoes or stuff like that. So like an extra $3,000 a month, and I mean I'm still gonna work. I'll work till the day I die.
You're putting the summer magazine together.
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
Probably still tying. Like
yeah. Oh, I've got so many jigs to make. It's just stupid. Oh, I've got to show you something cool. Hang on. I haven't done this in a long time.
Not a backflip, I hope.
See ya. No.
Yeah, it did actually, George. The Seville Magic Swimmer. It looked very similar to that.
So I was in the box out the back, in the garage, and I've been on this big purge thing now. I keep talking about it, but it's funny how I sort of went through the garage and got rid of a lot of stuff, and I'm back at the other end again, but it's full now with more stuff than it had before I started it. So whatever. But this has been, I've had so many guys. I made a bunch of these, and my buddies have been catching the heck of fish out of it.
Yep.
That color. It just looks like a fish.
Yep.
It's like some kind of a little thing along the bottom, a chub or something like that. But I was playing around the other day. So these had really big hooks in them. As I specifically had these jig heads made years ago by a buddy for guys that wanted to fish live bait on a bucktail. So they had a bigger hook at the back, a little more room, and then so it leaves a lot of room. So I added something to them.
No way.
I hadn't done that in years. I tied rattles in them. And I had a buddy went down to Quinny, and they're fishing. They're getting nothing. So I told him, I said, I told you have a boat you control from. You have downriggers. You have everything that you need. All the stuff. He's got 6 big trolling outfits with Dakotas and everything. I said, why weren't you pulling harnesses like everybody else? This is like harness season. And He says, "Oh, I don't know." So anyway, they stopped on some point. He pulled out one of these. He didn't realize there was a rattle in it, so he's caught 7 fish, and the other 2 guys in the boat have got none. And he's the least of the 3 fishermen. Like the other 2 guys are crackerjacks. And he's like, "What the hell are you using?" Eh? So he gave them jigs, but he didn't realize that two of the 8 that I gave him had a rattle in them.
Who's calling BS right now? I bet you he knew exactly what he was doing. I'm kidding.
Apparently, the way it went was one of the guys grabbed the fish in the net for him and pulled the hook out, and the jig stuck in the pliers, and he shook it, and he heard the rattle.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, and then he's trying to say I didn't know. And when I gave them to him, I meant to tell him, and I didn't, because I passed him out the window to him at a Shoppers in Kingston.
Yeah.
He was on a rush, but he got some real nice fish on him. He got like an 8-pounder. That's always fun casting.
Absolutely.
You get an 8-pounder on it with the casting tow. But I have a buddy, Chad, fishes in the Madawaska River. 17 casts, 17 walleyes.
Now, Jim, is the rattle a custom, or do you have those available like at Gagnon's or anything?
No, I used to make them. I don't have them anywhere. And I found this great big giant bag of rattles. There's like 400 rattles in it. There's probably like $300 worth of rattles in the bag.
I might message you after we're done here.
Let me turn my phone off quick.
Right on, Jim. Well, I'm heading up into an area that you used to go and frequent on the regular when they had the Magpie tournament up to Duberville, and I'm looking forward to the drive because I haven't done this drive in a while. I'm going to get to see a lot of
construction signs.
Yeah, yes, but North Channel, and of course, up past Sault Ste. Marie and what have you.
Yeah.
Anywhere that you could recommend that I might want to stop to freshen up, have a drink, or
I don't remember. I have my memories of that place are a long time ago.
Wow.
All my recent memories, the farthest I was getting over there was Mackie, Espanola. So just a couple hours past North Bay. I wasn't there. And was it an hour past Sudbury?
Yeah.
I was over there. I wasn't getting all the way over there much, but it's been a long time ago now. But I used to have a hoot when I went over there.
Well, it was awesome to go up and run into the likes of, as I said, Robbie, who asked right away, how's Jim doing? I haven't talked to him in a while. So hopefully we're going to head up.
Last Saturday, I went and had breakfast with my buddies from school.
Yes.
And they brought one of the teachers brought our old vice principal with him. He's like 90, and he's still as sharp as a whip. And one of the guys says to him, he says, you remember when you were an English teacher? And he goes, "Of course I remember." These guys are it's just like this. It's really funny how we're all buddies. And he says, "When I snuck the beer in the English class, how did you know I had it in my bag?" He said, "I could smell it because it broke. The bottle of beer broke, and he put the bag down, and the bottle of beer broke, eh?" He could smell it. Oh, we talked about some of the teachers and things that went on in this.
Oh, I can imagine.
Stuff that now, if it happened now in today's world the way they are today, the cops would be there, the lawyers would be out. We'd have to call Parliament Hill for our fearless leader to come down and sort it out. Like it was just, and it's all a big joke, still to us because of what it was, eh? 100%. We talked about the instance. I'm not going to get into names, but we had a lady teacher who was like, at the time, she was like 75. I don't know how she was still teaching, but she looked like she was 75 to us. She told me to go stand in the hall, and I was talking to somebody walking down the hall, and she came out and she looks at me and she says, "I don't remember telling you to talk to anybody out here." And she took me by the neck off the lockers, eh? And when I was telling this story, one of our teachers turned around and he said, "Oh, that must have been." And I said, "Yeah, how did you know?" He said, "It's the only person that could do something like that and get away with it."
Holy, wow!
And I was just snickering and laughing at her the whole time. Right?
That's hilarious.
He had me by the neck. I tell you, wow. I was that was just about the time I played hockey, and I was 6'2", 217. And I swear to God, there for a second, my feet were off the ground.
That's unreal. Jim, as always,
high school stories.
You're full of stories. Hopefully, I'm hoping we don't get to the end of it, because I'll tell you, we've been doing this, you and I, for 8 years now, and there's a new story. It seems like every time we go live. So I'm hoping you never run out of these wicked stories, dude. But as always, thanks so much for joining us on another Monday, and look forward to seeing you next Monday as well, bud.
Be safe out there, everybody.
Happy Father's Day, my friend.
Big bass this weekend.
Absolutely. Everybody is jonesing, and I can't think of anybody else more ready for bass season than this guy. We've got Lawrence coming up right after this. Jim, enjoy your week, bud. Peace.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
Lawrence Gunther's with us. How you doing, Lawrence?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Living the dream, as they say. Living the dream. I thought of you this week, actually. I was watching a program, and they were talking. It was a bit of a debate. I think it was on Fifth Estate. And there's a growing concern. I know we've talked about this on this, as well as, Bluefish Radio and all your podcasts that you do, about the shark population that is just continuing to grow out east. And now there is a bit of a controversy, because you have a certain group that is starting to retrofit their boats for sightseers. And they're building cages so that they can take, folks like us who have a fascination with these fish to go out and hand feed them, see them in the wild, and what have you. And of course, there's a growing concern for the folks on land to say, hey, listen, you're just bringing them closer to shore, and not now. You're hand feeding them. So this is only going to get worse, and it's going to just exponentially grow the problem. There is a lot of seals which we've talked about, but with this growing population of great whites that are now starting to create a camp out on the Maritimes, what can we offer folks that are on shore? What can we offer swimmers, or even the seals for that matter? Do you think this is a good approach, bad approach? Where do you stand on that?
You really, you're absolutely touching on something that, I don't know why we don't transmit this to these apex predators of the ocean, right? Like, we talk about feeding bears and getting too close to bison and Yellowstone, and to, getting too close to black bears and at dumps and grizzly bears, and just keeping distance and not customizing them. And wolves as well, right? Like, if you're camping, make sure your food is put away. You don't want to attract animals. You don't want to be giving them food. You don't want to be leaving your food out at your campsite, because once a bear comes in and gets a taste of that, or a wolf, they have to be destroyed pretty much. So, but no one's transmitting that to these sharks, right? Because they just people don't see these animals as intelligent as the ones walking around on terrestrial on Earth, right? So they just think they're dumb fish, and they're just killing machines, and they have no brains. But you can habituate them. You can sort of get them over their fear of things they don't know by presenting food with it. So you're absolutely right. And this has been a problem down in Florida, right? With the people who do the shark tours down there too. They put you in a cage, they lower you over the side of the boat. You've got scuba equipment on, and then they throw in all sorts of chum all around you, and they get a feeding frenzy going. It's not just, a piece of meat here, a piece of meat there. They get these feeding. That's what people want to see, is sharks zipping around them, attacking each other, attacking the food, getting all go crazy, and being ferocious. And it really, gets them used to being around boats, and it does draw them closer to the shore, because these boats aren't going to go out as little as possible, spend as little gas money as possible to do their tour. And if the closer they can stay to shore, the faster they can do the tours, and turn them over and start another one and save gas. So it could be bringing them closer to shore. That's what they're thinking in Florida. And it could be habituating them to boats, and you're out there fishing for a bluefin tuna or some mackerel or cod out there off the coast of Canada. Next thing you know, you're surrounded by great white sharks that are waiting for their turn to have a meal. It's who knows, right? Evidence is there.
I think there's an argument too that the commercial fishermen that are retrofitting their boats, and there could be a cast of reasons as to why they're doing this, but they might be doing themselves a disfavor because if you're and God forbid, I'm glad Jim's not here, but God forbid if we're teaching these fish that every time a boat is around you're going to get fed. What's going to happen when you hook into a bluefin tuna? What happens when you start hauling your lines and you've got cod and like I think it's a recipe for disaster. I understand sort of why they're doing it, and they're sort of jumping on the chance to sort of cash in on this. But
well, it used to be whale sightings, right? They used to do the whale tours, and then they had more rules about keeping distance, and whales there's less of them now, and there's more and more of these lobster fishers that have nothing to do when the lobster season closed because there's no more mackerel fishing. And the cod really hasn't reopened yet. So you got to do something. You got the boat, you got the gear, you got to go out there and make a living doing something. So you can't blame them for wanting to make a living and pay their boat mortgages. But I don't know. Like, these great whites aren't going to go anywhere soon. They're native to Atlantic Canada. They don't live there all year round. They come in the summer when the water warms up. They know where the seals are. They can smell them. They know where they are now. They discovered them years ago, and they keep coming back for their summer feast.
And it's I think it's a testament too that we might be on the verge of an increase in water temperature simply because you're starting to see so many sharks show up for a longer period of time. Yes, they would swim by there. Yes, they would feed. They do their thing. But when that North Atlantic current would start to bring that cold water in, they would disappear pretty quickly. But now they seem to be very, very easily content in the waters off the Maritimes. And a lot of folks would have said back in the day when Jaws became a thing that you would never see a shark that size in that area. Well, it's not the case now, is it?
No, it's not. And you're absolutely right. The ocean is warming. You can see it in the amount of sea turtles that are coming north along the coast of North America, the east coast of North America, and staying longer and staying often too long, and becoming numb and stunned in when the temperature starts to drop. There, a friend of mine's professor at Dalhousie University, and every year they're doing more and more sea turtle rescues where they have to bring these cold water stunned tortoises or turtles back south. They have to put them in trucks and move them south again, to resuscitate them and put them back into warmer water because they're just getting caught off guard. I mean, turtles aren't that fast, right? When the ocean starts to cool and they get caught up here and they get numb in the cold and hypothermic, you got to move them south. You got to warm them up and move them south. They put them into little kiddie swimming pools with the warm water and get their blood rate going again, and then transport them south again. But and you look at all the other sea creatures, all the other marine life that's shifting north, in the Atlantic salmon that are shifting north, and everything's shifting north. It's well documented.
100%. So it's just it's something they're going to have to deal with out there. I do have a growing concern that if we continue to feed them from cages, from boats, that it will have an adverse effect to what's going on out there. But at the end of the day, everybody has a right to make a living, and it's not like they're necessarily doing anything illegal. It just might not be the best thing to do for the future.
Well, 100 years ago, before, when there was a lot of seals, before we had the cull in place on seals, the idea of just going out swimming off a beach in Atlantic Canada, in the summertime, you thought twice about it, right? Because there were sharks. And then we reduced the seal population in the 50s, 60s, and 70s through a cull. And that ended, I think, in the 90s. And the seal populations have bounced back, and now we're back to normality, right? For many decades, there was no sharks around because there was no seals around, and we ruled the ocean. But
Yeah.
that's not the case anymore. It's
I
gone
have
back
to say, and not to get into shock and awe, or oh, you're getting dramatic, Scott. But I was talking to a guy at work, Chris Church, a fellow colleague of mine, and we have the same fascination with sharks as each other, and I'm sure like most. I don't know if your fear is the same as mine, because I like, dude, I refuse to swim in the ocean. I really do. I have a unbelievable fear for them, but I'm also just I'm fascinated by them. And we were going through some of the other animals, like, spiders. I'm not that fond of spiders. I'm not that fond of snakes, but I don't have the same fascination with those animals as I do shark. And I'm wondering if folks have the same appreciation, same fascination with them. I don't have any inkling. There's not a fiber in my body, as fascinated as I am, to climb in a cage and swim with sharks. No. And the ones that do the free diving and they're the abalone that are, they're trying to pick those off bottom, like all surfers. You're hanging out right where the seals are. Again, no fascination whatsoever for me.
No, and they could get away with that. Surfers could get away with that, 20, 30 years ago, because like I said, there were few seals and few sharks about. Yeah. But that's changing. That's all changing, and we don't own that water, right? I mean, I've caught shark off the coast of Halifax. I've caught shark off the coast of Florida, and once you get a bit of chum in there and they're around, right? Once you start catching other fish, the sharks show up. It's just they rule the waters, my friend, and you got to go. I remember, Scotty, I don't know if I told you the story, but my first time hand lining for cod aboard this wooden dory, I think it was 1987, and I finally convinced these two guys to take me out fishing, and they always refused to take mainlanders fishing because they would have to turn around and bring them back because they get so seasick, and they waste 4 hours of their time, gas. And I swore I wouldn't. So the first time out, we were doing really well on the cod. I think we had we caught about 3,000 pounds that day, just with three of us on hand lines.
3,000.
At some point, the whole back of the boat was full. The whole back of the boat. And at some point, this one older gentleman, he starts yelling at me, "Shark, shark bite!" I said, "What?" And the other fellow said, "Oh, he's shark." So I had two cod on my line on two different hooks. So I had one on the gunnel and I was just unhooking it, and the other one was still just by the side of the boat. And I just pulled the water and whipped it into the boat. And it was a big splash right beside the boat. And I said, "What was that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a blue shark." And these guys are still fishing. And I said, "Well, aren't we going to move?" And they looked at me and they realized I'm not putting my lure back in the water, right? Because they, and so the one guy goes into the wheelhouse, starts the motor, moves, puts it in gear for about 30 seconds, turns it off, and comes back and goes, "There you go." They were not going to move off that school of cod. These guys, they did not want to lose that school of cod below the boat. And we were just going to fish through the sharks and take our chances. It wasn't a personal risk, but they told me, like, if you get one on, if it bites the cod, you get hooked. You got a real fight on your hands, and you want to get your hook back.
No, you don't. There's no fight. The fight's over. Fight's over.
Cut your line.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad. But they were using, their old hooks. The old hooks they used, they would rust out pretty quick. The hooks that are used now on those long lines, they're rust proof, they're galvanized, they're nickel plated, they have all sorts of finishes on them. They last for weeks and months out in the salt water. I have a friend of mine, he does shark research off the coast of Halifax, and he's got sharks with 6-7 hooks in their mouth, just like jewelry, because when they bite a long line, they don't cut they don't remove the hooks. They're not going to waste time removing hooks from sharks. They just cut the line. And so the shark's mouths just become riddled with these hooks. And he said that his record was 6. That he got a blue shark with 6 hooks in his mouth, and he got them all out. But he said the worst is sometimes they want to keep their $2 hooks, so they take a big machete and cut the face on the shark to get their hook out.
Okay. All right. So that's where I draw the line. Listen, I don't have any desire to want to hurt them. As I said, I'm fascinated by them, but my fear for them is more than healthy. It
should.
is a respect level that no two-legged person has, I will say. But
well, this guy, he had lots of bite wounds just from the research he does, the scanning and tagging of the sharks. We bring them on board, scan them, tag them, measure them, and put them back. And I'm holding the tail and he's holding the head of the 6-footer. We lift it up. They have no bones. They can turn around and bite their own tail, right? They can bend right around into a circle.
You see it on Facebook, and I know I'm speaking to the wrong person, but some of the memes and reels that you see of guys, like there was one down in Florida. He was literally just like cleaning his hands, and a small little juvenile bull shark grabs a hold of his hand and pulls him in the water. Another guy, it was agonizing to watch. To your point, he's with his kids on a boat and he's trying to get the hook out, but he's holding it in such a way that as soon as it slips, it turns around and it grabs his pinky, spins and does the death roll, and all of a sudden the shark is back into the water, and he right away says, "I just lost my finger."
Yeah. These animals, they have no fear. They have nothing hunts sharks in the water except us. So they have no fear, and they have a temper. You grab hold of them, man, they get pissed off, right? They get pissed off.
Well, one of the interesting, and not to go on and belabor the issue, but if you were to fall in the water, what would you rather come across? Would you rather come across a great white, or would you rather come across a bull shark?
Bull sharks are one of the top 5 shark species in the world for eating humans because they're opportunist, they're lazy, and they're not that fussy, right? So if you look at all, in the Second World War, all the planes and ships that sank and sailors and pilots that were left floating in the water, it was the bull sharks that accounted for most of those deaths.
Yeah. I have to agree. Not that I think I would fare well being the elephant seal that I am against either one of them. Because as I've said many times, if I ever jumped in the water and there were sharks around, they'd say, "Oh boy, we get a hold of this big boy. We don't have to eat for another month." So,
whereas the great white sharks, the bites from great whites come mainly from juvenile sharks that are transitioning from a fish diet to a mammal diet. Yeah. At some point, when they get about 8 to 10 feet long, they just can't get enough nutrients from eating fish anymore. So they have to start to find other food sources that are going to satisfy their caloric needs. And that's when they start sampling things, right? Because they're looking for something that's going to, full of fat and satisfy their hunger. So they'll take a bite of us. They'll take a bite of a leg, a hand of a human on a beach just to try looking for those, that says to them that, dings that bell in their head. Yeah, that's it, baby. Well, that's the one I'm looking for.
The other thing too that people have said, typically humans are not on their food chain. Like it's not part of their desired prey. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. With the amount of videos that are running around, I'd like to debate that issue because, and I'd say it tongue in cheek because the unfortunate thing is. There's a lot of people that have fallen to the demise of these fish. Yeah. And sometimes it's no fault of their own. It's just a bad circumstance. But I don't know, man. I think
the adult greats, the 15-footers, they're not biting people. They know what they want to eat. They know they want to eat seal and sea lions. They're not targeting humans because they already figured out that that's not what I want. They can tell just by sight. It's the juveniles that haven't figured it out yet. They're just sorting out things, and they're the problem cases.
All right. Well, to end this conversation, let's just hope whatever shark I do come across at some point is an adult fish that I can have a conversation with. And
not the bull sharks. The bull sharks will eat anything, man. Any size, anything. They don't discriminate.
So as always, I'm sure you have a bunch of news items that you've gathered to share with us. But first, before you do that, give us an update on the facility that you're building.
Oh yeah, things are going well. We've got the accessible dock is being picked up next week. It's going to be one of the first accessible docks I know of in Canada. I had a hand in designing it with a great team of dock builders in Quebec. And it's going to be quite unique. I'll be happy to take a video of that and share that when it goes in. Our two of our bunkies are built now. They're They have a 10 by 16 foot living area that's insulated and with a propane direct exhaust heating system, table and chairs, lights, rechargeable lights anyways, and windows, and enough beds, bunk beds to sleep 5 to 6 comfortably, and a screened in, a 5 foot by 10 foot screened in porch off the front.
Sweet.
So yeah.
And is this completely off the grid up there, Lawrence?
Oh yeah, off the grid. Yeah, we're doing 3,000 watts of solar power. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of solar power going in there, but and a giant battery. I don't understand that technology, but I have good people around me that do. So we're good hands.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Let's dive into the news. Tell us what we don't know and what we need to know.
Well, I just attended the Great Lakes Fishery Commission meeting last week.
Okay.
And it was fascinating to hear the reports from the different science panels and different science committees that deal with the different lakes. And I mentioned Lake Erie. They talked about the Central Basin being a little sparse, but they think it's on the recovery when it comes to perch and walleye, but mainly perch. But the West Basin of Lake Erie and the East Basin of Lake Erie are absolutely as good as they've ever been in 50 years for walleye.
I can say, because we have a good buddy, Kevin Schwartz, who's down in Port Clinton, and he's been hauling fish out left, right, and center with all of his clients. So the western end, to your point, yes, there is still a concern from what I understand, and Jason can attest to this, was with the perch population. Although they have a good massive fish body in the western basin, there is still that concern that the perch numbers are still starting to dwindle. But if you're saying that they came to this workshop and said that the perch population is actually starting to recover, that's good news.
Yep. There's signs of recovery, and the walleye population is just never been better. You know, as far as they know in terms of keeping data on that, they think it probably has something to do with the gobies.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. And it's interesting that they were talking about the Eastern Basin, because there's a lot of folks that suggest that the walleye in great numbers don't come as far east as they used to. Like, I mean,
they're there now. They're there now.
So that's good news for all those who are fishing out of Port Colborne and even Fort Erie. It's like you guys are going to enjoy a plethora of fish. So that's good news.
Yeah. Even the bass population too. Lake Ontario is doing well. They say what's really exciting, and I know we talked about this before, is the amount of coho and Chinook salmon and brown trout and rainbow trout, steelhead, that are spawning successfully. They said it's just the numbers are through the roof. The wild spawning fish that we put in, these are all fish that non-native fish that we introduce into the area, are just doing amazing.
Interesting, and rainbows I know have always done well on Lake Erie, but I just didn't think Lake Erie was cold.
Oh, Lake Ontario. I'm talking Lake Ontario.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Lake Ontario. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, the brown trout especially, what a fishery that is, and we get to see that showcased on the regular here at CFN. The number of trout picks that Steve does is remarkable, and it's great to see folks like the Daryl Doucettes of the world that are going out just as average anglers that are retired, that are enjoying some time out on the water and catching some of what you're just talking about. It's awesome to see. And I invite all of you to look at Trout Tuesday tomorrow, because we have a young angler that is going to be featured that will be really proud to see your comments. So a little foreshadowing of what's to come, but needless to say, Sergio reached out to me, who is a captain, and he had the pleasure of being on this boat, watching this young angler catch this fish. So we're looking forward to sharing that tomorrow.
Nice.
I digress. Lawrence, please continue.
Yeah, no, it's good to, real hand information is fantastic. Yep. They say Lake Superior, the lake trout and the whitefish populations in Lake Superior are doing very well. Very, very well. Huron Lake is a mixed bag. The north end, where it's very clear water, low nutrients, is struggling. Mm-hmm. The whitefish population is really down, but the southern end and some of the bays that are high in nutrients are doing much better, and they're having lake trout and walleye, as we know. Yeah. Michigan is doing very well with the lake trout, and it's doing well, and okay with the salmon.
Are the salmon recovering to the southern basin? Because that was a real bad situation for commercial anglers. They were having issues with the salmon in the southern part of the lake.
The alewife population has rebounded and the Cisco population is building. So that was the problem, I think, is that those alewife population had been dropping for a number of years. And that was accounting, and that's what the salmon eat, right? Is the alewife. And without that, they suffer. But it's recovering, and the salmon populations are recovering too. So that's doing well. So, thumbs up for the Great Lakes for the most part. Another point I'll mention is, they spend about $20 million a year on sea lamprey control. And if they didn't, we wouldn't have any native fish in those lakes at all. So they're hoping, their count is 5 sea lamprey wounds per 100 fish. That is a reasonable amount of harm. Anything more, and they're concerned. And of course, during COVID, during 2020, there was no lampricide being put into any of the rivers where the sea lamprey spawn. And in 2021, about half the treatments took place. In about 2022, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the treatments took place. So what we're seeing last year is the higher than normal incidence of sea lamprey wounds being reported by anglers. And this is us anglers reporting this stuff, right? If it wasn't for anglers reporting this data, they wouldn't know. But we're really, really helping out with this. They think that's going to stabilize now, because they have been almost, last year they had almost full lamprey treatment on all the sites. And they think that those numbers are going to start to go down again, that we've gone by the worst of it in terms of sea lamprey wounds. And they say, what did they say? An adult sea lamprey can kill 40 pounds of fish a year. So, so it's something, we saw that in the 50s when the sea lamprey came in and decimated the Atlantic salmon and lake trout populations in the Great Lakes. They were pretty much wiped out, but it's been rebuilt, and the this is one of their main concerns, right? Is managing the sea lamprey, and they really deserve a huge, the work they do, the science they conduct, the effort that goes into this and managing this is just stellar, absolutely stellar.
Great news. Was there any talk, and I know this is a hotly contested item, could be extremely controversial depending on where you are and what lake you fish.
Yeah.
Did they talk about pulling back the number of lake trout being stocked going forward if they're doing so well?
Yeah. The Great Lakes Fishery Commission doesn't do stocking.
Okay.
So that's managed by, Ontario, in the States. Ontario has been taking some breaks on salmon restoration, but they said the salmon are doing so well that we don't need necessarily stock every year anymore.
Okay.
And we got to get past this idea that it's a put and take fishery when it comes to the salmon in Lake Ontario and the other Great Lakes. These fish are now wild fish for all intents and purposes, and need to be better respected accordingly. That's not their words. That's what we're hearing, right, Scotty? That we see what's happening in the rivers during the spawning season, and people are still acting as if these fish are, put there by us, and therefore we can do what we want with them. That's not the case anymore. If we want that population to stay strong, we need to better respect the ones that are going up in the rivers and spawning.
Couldn't agree more, dude. And when you provide your time and make yourself available to some of these young kids derbies, you really understand what it is that you're doing, because you get to hear some of the questions that are asked, and you right away realize that there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily know a lot about fish. And I'm not saying that as a slight. I'm not saying that as a negative thing. It's just we need to do a better job educating the masses when it comes to fish identification, fish handling, and what you need to do to catch fish. Because I'll tell you, when a kid catches a fish, they're hooked for life. I don't care. I was one of them. I was no different than any other young angler. When you caught that first fish that everybody sat back and clapped and were cheering and whatever, yeah, man, I want to do that again. I can't wait to do that again. So, yes,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Absolutely, man. It's that first fish. It's just, when that kid's shaking and has to put the rod down and sit down and get their breath, and kind of calm themselves down. This is something that they're going to treasure as a precious memory. And they're always going to think about fishing as something to do for the rest of their lives.
Well, we wasted a little bit of time on sharks, so we have time for one more news item, Lawrence, and you get to save the rest for next week.
Yeah, I'm happy to report that the Great Lakes Fish Health Network that I founded in 2017 and continue to chair to this day, it's a binational body of professionals. It's a working group, so we're always working on new things. That we just got some funding from the Freshwater Fishery Alliance, Freshwater Alliance, sorry, it's the Freshwater Alliance, an environmental group. So they're funding the Great Lakes Fish Health Network, and we're, pro fishing, and that's all great, right? That we're getting some funding from those guys. So, and the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Studies, they've asked me to set up the St. Lawrence River Fish Health Network, and that's going to go the full length of the St. Lawrence River. So that's coming about soon. On a little bit on the bad side on the St. Lawrence River, we have on the American side, just across from Brockville, in Clayton, New York, there's a huge bay, one of the last large wetlands on the upper St. Lawrence River. It's called Blind Bay, and that's a major spawning site for muskie and pike.
Yeah,
and a nursery for muskie and pike. The U.S. Coast Guard and Border Control wants to put in a giant base there and basically disrupt that whole bay.
Oh.
And even though a bunch of environmentalists bought up the land from the private landowners to protect it, they can still just seize the land, right? And there's senators in the United States that are against this. There's governors that are against this. There's a bunch of politicians, but this organization just seems to think they don't have to listen to anybody, and they continue to push forward on this plan. And we're working with them. There's 70 different organizations that are working with Save the River. That's the official river keeper for the Upper St. Lawrence River, to help stop this destruction of Blind Bay on the St. Lawrence River and all that beautiful habitat that is going to get destroyed.
Jeremy's asking a question. Have they been trying to do that for the past decade? Has it been that long? I know they've been at this for a while.
Well, yeah, it's been at least 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
That's a great question, Jeremy. Well, as always, Lawrence, I thank you so much for spending your Monday nights with us. And of course, getting us up to date and enlightening us on some news items that we perhaps didn't know, or perhaps we just like talking about it like our beloved sharks.
Thanks for giving me the chance, buddy.
Right on, dude. You have yourself a great week, my friend. Thanks so much for all you do. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday night.
Cheers, buddy.
All right. We got Jason Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jay Dogs in the house. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing good. How are you, Scotty?
Fantastic. And I have to say, Jay, I thought of you immediately, and I know we talked about this backstage, but there was a fish that was caught. Young girl caught it. She had really no interest in being there or even fishing for that matter. But I'll tell you, when she hooked this behemoth buffalo, I think she's hooked for life. In fact, I do believe she's signing up for the CFN FishOFF right now. But what brought to mind was, of course, the FishOFF. And what was so easy for me to identify, I had to take a step back and say, whoa, bud, the only reason you know anything about this is because of the work that you've done and the judges have done, Mike has done, you have done, you've helped us do. with identifying fish. And a big shout out to you, my friend, because it was a no-brainer. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, no, that's a buffalo. We're good. But I think to the point of what it was that I was trying to share was that there was a concern and a validated concern, because at the end of the day, initially we thought maybe it's not such a great idea to be promoting a fish that is considered an invasive species. But as it turned out, it was a buffalo. It was a great end to a great story. And the little girl went home with a smile about this big.
Yeah, like good for you, man. So if I could, I'd give you a gold star on your fish ID test, Scotty. Great job, man. Yeah, like we were talking, and it's funny how even like some of these fish are still misidentified, right? And there's so many species out there that, and the FishOFF has been a great education for all these different species. It truly has. I know I've enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. And I enjoy not just enjoying seeing all these great fish caught, but also enjoy so many CFN ambassadors that we've created with the FishOFF.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, buffalo, we were talking backstage, they're a unique fish. So they're a sucker for one, right? So they have soft rays. Their dorsal fin and anal fin have soft rays, no spines. Like common carp have a spine in the dorsal spine and the anal spine. And so the first thing you can do is when you grab one, they're all soft rays, right? And 20 years ago, 25 years ago, these fish were considered species at risk in Canada: smallmouth buffalo and bigmouth buffalo, smallmouth buffalo, and black buffalo. And what we found out in the last 25 years, and actually I'd say probably from about 2000 till about 2010, is they are really abundant. There's lots of them in lower Lake Huron, like basically from sort of Pinery Park all the way down Lake St. Clair, all the way through the Detroit, including St. Clair River, and then into Lake Erie, and as far over as even actually some of the Lake Ontario embayments like Jordan Harbor and places where these things actually are quite common. But it wasn't until we started surveying a lot of these coastal wetlands like Rondo, Pelee, and others, where all of a sudden now we're seeing all these buffalo. They didn't just show up. They were always there. We just didn't understand them or detect them in our gear. And so I think at the end of the day, what's cool is that through science, we actually took a fish that was rare in terms of records, and we found out that it actually was quite common. And why are they not seen? Well, a lot of folks don't realize this, but buffalo are actually plankton feeders. So when it comes to the suckers, I've done a lot of research on suckers myself personally. And so red horses and white suckers, they all fill different niches in the food web. And red horses are a great example of this. And the large rivers and where the red horses are found, like the Thames, the Grand, all the Lake Huron tribs, and they all eat different things. River red horse feed on mussels. Greater red horse feed on mussels and other insects. And what you do is their gill rakers and their pharyngeal teeth in the back of their throat, they're built differently in each species depending what they eat. Well, with buffalo, their gill rakers are really fine, much like baleen in a whale for filtering.
Yep. Yep.
And they just cruise around and they filter feed all these, all these plankton in the water column. And so they're a native fish that's just not seen often. And so a lot of people misidentify them. And I think in this case for this event, there's two ways of looking at it. We could look negatively and get worried about an invasive species like grass carp, and they've been seen in Dunnville. So it's good to see that folks in Dunnville are very aware that grass carp are there. But even if it was a grass carp, I think it's still worth giving that little girl a reward because it's raising awareness for an invasive species. So yeah, if it was a grass carp, I still hope she got an award. Even though we may not have let that fish go. I know the rules where all fish must be released alive. Great video, by the way. I would just twist the rules a bit and just say, unless it's an invasive species, then maybe we shouldn't let it go and still reward them with a prize, much like they do in the Hamilton Harbor Fishing Derby, which they have for decades. one of the number one fish that are caught are round goby. And a lot of the gobies that are caught are collected, taken out, and euthanized and disposed of. And that's all part of the learning what fishing is, right?
So cool. Jeremy's asking a question. How do they taste? I can't honestly say I know, or do you know anybody?
I've never eaten a buffalo, but you know, in the US, they're actually farmed as food fish. And it's thought that, our lab has done research over the years on the genetics of buffalo. And early in my career, when we were seeing lots of these fish, and the most common way to catch them for us was boat electrofishing. So we were doing boat electrofishing surveys of the St. Clair and Detroit River. And we were taking tissues, fin clips, just clipping the back of the fin. Like they have big, broad fins, right? So we were just taking basically a fingernail size piece of tissue. And we were sending it off to actually a university in Louisiana, Tulane University. And there was a gentleman there, and I'm sure you know this, but there's always an expert somewhere for something, right? So the buffalo expert his name was Hank Bart, and Hank was a prof at Tulane University. Don't ask me how I remember all these things, man.
I'm gonna say, how do you remember this dude?
I can't remember what I'm supposed to do this weekend, but I can remember Hank Bart talking to me 20 years ago about buffalo. And what he found really interesting, this gets back to the food fish, is the buffalo. Big mouth buffalo are native to Canada, and they found that the genetics of big mouth buffalo here varied a little bit from big mouth buffalo in the Mississippi River. And what we found out was a lot of what we're calling black and smallmouth buffalo in Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair aren't actually true buffalo. They're back crosses. And when we found that out, we're like, well, that's kind of weird. Why would they be back crosses? And what the theory was some of these smallmouth and black buffalo were likely escapees from farm ponds or fish ponds in the U.S., and they were being farmed for food. So back to the food question, I've never eaten one, but there is a market in the U.S. for buffalo as a food fish. So I'm not sure how they prepare it. I'm not at all, but they are consumed in the U.S. as food fish, and there's a commercial fishery for them on the Mississippi River. So
interesting. I can't say that I would have even thought of eating them. To me, it's like sheep's head. I know there's a lot of folks that love to eat sheep's head. Yeah, I just can't get my head around it. I don't know. It would have to be prepared for me, I think, because the amount of slime and smell that comes from that fish, it's just
I know those.
I find it appetizing at all.
They are my number one public enemy when I'm fishing marabou jigs. Sheephead freshwater drum, they will eat a marabou jig the same as a smallmouth. And what's funny is when you're fishing marabou and you're up shallow and you make a long cast and you're reeling that marabou in, and you see something following it, and for me, it's always, I hope that's a bass. I hope that's a bass. I hope that's a bass. And then all of a sudden you hook into it and this fish just takes off like a freight train. You're like, that's a drum. And they have straightened out a lot of hooks on my marabou. Is not cheap. I'm not saying I'll stop fishing with marabou, but you pay for good quality, and Jim makes some great jigs. Jeff Penner makes some great marabou jigs. But I'll tell you, man, those drum eat up my marabou jigs a lot, and they're frustrating. And but I won't put the marabou down because it gets too many big smallmouth on them. So
that's awesome. Rocky, you beat me to it. There was also a catfish that was caught. It looked, to Rocky's point, yellow bullhead. Yeah, it had black blotches on it, and not only were they a pigment, or it could be identified as a pigment in the skin, but the gentleman that held it and took the hooks out actually had a stain that was left on his hand from that blotching. Any explanation you can offer? Because I was like, sorry guys, I don't know what to tell you other than this is just a deformity in the skin color.
So we see black blotches in a lot of different species, including largemouth. That's quite often where I see them, and it's called melanosis. It's a skin condition, and it's been theorized that with the changing climate and more UV in the water and more UV coming through the ozone and all that kind of stuff. We're seeing it, right? Like we got to wear more sunscreen than we ever have and we've talked about skin cancer on this show. And I think that melanosis is being triggered by more UV. But bullheads I'm going to tell you, man, I'm not a big fan of bullheads. I have a personal vendetta against bullheads because they are stabby. They are little pin cushions, and I have to deal with them at work quite a bit. But they root around in the worst stuff. In fact, most toxicity tests that go on with Environment Canada, my colleagues over in Environment Canada who do water quality and things like that, they find that bullheads, like they test a lot of bullheads because they are so tolerant of poor conditions that that's what they test for. And so these things root around in all the worst places. Like they can tolerate all kinds of different chemicals and low oxygen and things. So it wouldn't surprise me that bullhead that was caught, who knows where it was rooting around, and I don't know what sort of chemical it got involved with. I'm not saying it was like highly toxic and heavy metals or something, but man, they can tolerate so much. They're troopers that way. They are warriors, bullheads. I have seen them with all kinds of tumors and growths on them. And yeah, I know some friends that eat bullheads, and that is, of all the fish on the list, that is near the bottom of fish.
Okay. Wow. I didn't mean to stir up that. But I have to say, I was pointing out some of the stingers on. I caught a really nice channel cat. The one lad there caught a really nice channel cat. It was a beautiful fish. Lots of belly fat on it, and needless to say, that's, if boiled or fried, could make an interesting fish fry for some. Alicia can't wait to catch her next sheep's head in a tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They are a ton of fun. Like, I will tell you, they are a ton of fun. And they have, how should I put this, man? They have fooled me so many times where I thought I had a big sheephead on, ended up being a big smallmouth, and vice versa. They tug at my lures and they tug at my heartstrings all the time, those darn things. But and they're also just they when you hook them on light tackle when you're smallmouth fishing, you fight them for so bloody long because they just don't give up. But in all saying this, what drives me crazy is when you see a lot of anglers who mistreat bycatch like freshwater drum, right, Scotty? And you see it where now sometimes fish are deep hooked and they try to release them, but I know a few anglers out there that really they mistreat freshwater drum because they think they're, I don't know, they put some sort of negative vibe on these fish, and they're just part of nature's system like everything else. So I see so many dead freshwater drum floating around Lake Erie some days that I'm like, what are people doing out here? And I just think the message is, let's just not hurt our freshwater drum. They don't deserve that, even though they can be annoying.
Yes, and I know for the charter captains out on Lake Erie, they can be annoying and perhaps might not necessarily agree with those statements. But at the end of the day, they are all fish, and they're all Mother Nature's offspring. So yes, we do have to respect them all. But yeah, it was a great event. It was nice to see the kids out there, nice to see the parents. And the one thing that we talk about at great length here is the mental health that fishing is able to prescribe to people and benefit people. And there was a couple kids, no names given, but they have ADHD. They have incredible bipolar. All I can say is there was one kid in particular that has all of these ailments. He would brighten up any room if you put a fishing rod in his hand. And you talk about the focus. He remained so focused and so into fishing. He caught a rock bass. He caught the one rock bass, but it was that one fish and a couple others catching fish around him that just had him fully engaged. And a lot of parents didn't know that really this provides mental. Oh my word! Yeah, I mean we could keep you here all night, but can never not emphasize it enough. What fishing can provide those who are suffering from certain ailments.
No, I agree. And I think that, you know, a lot of kids who struggle with these different disorders, you know, we live in a world where, and I actually had some great conversations on the weekend with a couple of dads about, you know, they have younger kids than ours. So like we're talking 7 to 8 years old, maybe 7 to 10 years old. And they're, you know, they're caught at a crossroads where they're like, the world's changing. Kids are becoming more reliant. Like we are becoming more reliant on electronics, phones, tablets, things like that. And at what point do you let your kid have a phone or a tablet? And we're not just talking about the responsibility of a phone and a phone plan. I'm more talking about like now they have something all the time that has their attention. And I think that, and I've seen it personally where, you know, having a phone or electronics like that, they really can mess with someone's mental health, right? It's rough on all of us at times. And I think that fishing it's like a sleeper treatment, right? Where it's like, if we could get more people, and maybe we could broadly paint this just as the outdoors, right? Get outside, get away from your electronics, and fishing just gives you that avenue to get away from these things. And I do believe that, you know, I see kids that, you know, we live in a small town and we all kind of know each other here, right? Through minor sports, especially hockey and baseball and soccer. And there's some kids that I think struggled with some of these disorders when they were younger. Now they've taken up fishing, right? And these kids are different kids now. Like we, you know, and some of these kids are Trevor's buddies. And I'll say to Trevor, like, man, has that kid changed? Like I think fishing is part of it, man. And some of these kids, you know, if I would have saw them on the hockey rink 4 or 5 years ago when Trevor was playing a lot, I'm like, you know, I don't even know if that kid would get into fishing. And now he's telling me who he's going out fishing with. And I'm like, that's amazing that these kids have just taken up fishing. And Trevor has like this whole gang of young anglers that he hangs out with. And I'll admit, I think he's a catalyst. He brings it on. He forces others into it because he can't stop talking about it. But I think that there's a lot of kids who have found their good mental place, and it's fishing.
And you know what I find so inspiring about his story, Owen's story, and what you just shared is that it's cool to be an angler. You know, when I grew up here in Brampton, as a young, you know, you weren't cool unless you played hockey. You weren't cool unless you played ball or anything else. What do you mean you're an angler? What do you mean you fish?
Yeah.
Like, look at us. We're surrounded by concrete. What could you possibly fish here? So I think it's really cool that it's becoming cool to fish. And to Trevor, to Owen, and all the work that's being done out your way, fantastic, man. Absolutely.
You know, and hearing how Trevor through social media, like we could talk about the negatives of social media, and I'm not going to hide it. Like I'm not going to give you the Disney version. We've had some crap go on here with social media, and we've had to address. And this is stuff that I think every parent faces over time. But on the positive side, he has touched a lot of people through social media, and I hear, like, you know how when your kid's talking on their phone and you're like, get off your phone. Sometimes I'm just a dad. But then I feel bad when I find out, well, he was on the phone with someone talking about fishing. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, dude. You got to go to bed. But he talks fishing with his buddies all the time. And that is what they do. They are, and I'm going to say he's probably got a dozen friends. That's all they talk about is fishing constantly. And they're always planning their next trip, whether that's tomorrow, next weekend, or next year even. They're always planning their trips, and it takes up, and this is all good because it takes up their space in their mind. Their mind is just focused on fishing. They could do a little better in their schoolwork, but yeah, you got to put a little asterisk beside some of these kids' average mark. But I do believe, you know, and fish, it's funny too, actually, I'll bring this up. Trevor said that the local conservation officer, Kyle Mothy, great dude, love this guy. We talk all the time. He was at the high school giving a talk, and apparently he was bragging at the high school about these Barnucz boys that are local sticks. And so Trevor was getting some good high fives in the hallway from some of the kids afterwards, because
Nice.
the CO was talking about Trevor. Even Trevor's got Kyle's, like, these COs, gotta love a good CO. And Trevor runs into Kyle when Trevor's out fishing, and they talk all the time. And that's so cool that my son has a connection with the local CO, like, not through me, through himself going fishing. Now, Kyle knows me and knows Heather and stuff, but it's really cool that Trevor and Kyle have this relationship, and that Trevor's buddies with the local CO. But that tells you how much Trevor's out fishing, like, all the time.
Awesome.
Like, I'm not saying we need COs all the time, but man, he is out all the time fishing. So, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, we've hit our quota. We can't talk about Trevor anymore.
Well, Alicia, I will. Okay, I gotta give a little story about. We always talk about what we did the last week, so I gotta talk about what I did this past week. So I didn't go fishing, but I did go up to Doss King Kayaks in Collingwood on Saturday, and I picked up my new kayak. It's and I'm gonna play a video here in a second. But Alicia, you bring up inflation. So while we were there, Darren King and the good folks and Chris and all the guys up at Doss King, man, they were busy, dude. Scotty, it's kayak. Like, all the orders have come in from all the great orders that Darren did through all, like, we were talking about CanCast and the Woodstock show and everything. And I was up there on Saturday, and I ran into 2 different families, one from Woodstock that I met at the Woodstock show. They were picking up the kayak that they picked out at the Woodstock show, because all the orders have been coming in. So there we are in Collingwood, and I'm chatting with a family from St. Mary's who met me at the Woodstock show, and we talked kayak fishing. So back to my inflation story, is they had a sale on inflatable stand-up paddleboards up there. So Trevor is now the owner of a inflatable stand-up paddleboard, courtesy of Darren Ford. I will say that regular price $1,000. He's got them on clearance for $399. So Trevor was like, Dad, he was doing that. You ever just take your kid to a store, hey Scotty, and they're like, Dad, I really want this, and I'm like, oh, yes. And he actually sold me on it, because there's a couple places in Delhi that he's caught some good fish at, that getting a kayak to is tough, but he could carry an inflatable stand-up paddleboard. So Trevor, he's always spinning his next plan. So he can't wait for bass opener, because he's going to smash some big largies on a stand-up paddleboard. So I'm sure his mother's not thrilled about stand-up paddleboards, and we'll see how good his balance is. But yeah, that's my inflation story. We're going to inflate his paddleboard soon.
That's hilarious. Well, it's a great story, and another one that I wanted to pass along. And Mike, I really appreciate you sharing this. Mike Ellis, fishing has saved me from drugs, and it brought my life back. Man. Thank you, CFN. Keep Canada fishing. Brother, that's powerful. You know,
everyone has their story, and I think that everyone who I know through fishing, and even if they've had a really good life and haven't had a lot of negative things, we all go through tough times. Could be a death in the family, could be some a change at work, or a layoff, or who knows what puts us in these places mentally. And fishing brings us back, doesn't it? Like, it just brings us back to center again, right? So, yeah. Oh, there's Trevor. Trevor, you're supposed to be working, dude. You're supposed to be making pizzas, not talking, not on CFN Live, buddy. So,
Sonia, yes, and Sonia, you've shared the same story with me as well, and I tell you, the testimonials that I have had the honor and luxury of hearing, and I'm sure, Jay, you're no different, what fishing has meant to certain people and what it has taken them away from and provided them, I think is absolutely phenomenal. So thanks for sharing all your stories. And as Jay just mentioned, we all have one. It might not be the same, but it all brings us back to fishing. So thanks for keeping it alive.
I'm going to share a video. I don't know if this is sharing or not. It might be sharing. So this is Doss King's, like, literally arrived this week. This is the new Zeus. So this kayak has a 500-pound weight capacity, Scotty.
Oh, right up my alley. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, dude. This is the big guy kayak. It is a beast. This is what I have. So Trevor's a little unhappy because my red matches his red kayak, but we got like little red and big red now. And now this is this video Trevor made up at Doss King and Collingwood at Golden Triangle Outdoors or Georgian Triangle Outdoors. We're going to do some social media promotion of this. And I spent a good chunk of Sunday rigging this. So this is the bare bones version. It's a pedal drive kayak. The seat on it is really unique. It's a swivel seat. So
that swivels that seat?
Yeah. If I want to go behind me, I can swivel now. So for me, who I don't stand up a lot. Now, Darren Ford has told me I can stand in this kayak. He's like, if you can't stand this kayak, I'll be shocked because it's so big and it's very stable. It's wider. So it's wider than my previous one. It sits higher in the water. It's heavier. Yeah, exactly, Alicia. Like new canoes have swivel seats too. And I think what Darren did was when they designed this kayak, and he had some great feedback from a lot of his pro staff, this kayak is made for basically if you want to do big water fishing. So this kayak is set up. There's half a dozen rod holders built into it already. Okay. At the front of it, I'll actually show the video here. I'll pause it. So if you look at the front, let's see if I can get this video just right.
And is it pedal drive? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
it's
pedal drive. So the pedals fold down. So right there, you can actually see the tracks. So there's that storage hatch, but they've put in tracks for mounting gear all over this thing. So you don't have to drill or mount a lot on this, and it'll accept. So I use a lot of Yak Attack accessories and a lot of accessories from Scotty downriggers, and the tracks are ready to go. Like it is honestly, I took all of my accessories like rod holders, paddle holders. I took all my accessories, and it only took me about an hour to rig this thing up, and it's ready to roll. It's in the driveway now. We'll do some videos of it this weekend, but it is honestly, but it's a beast. It's about 10 pounds heavier than my older one. So it's not light. I'm glad I got a trailer for sure.
What would it weigh then, Jay? Without any of the electronics?
Without the chair, it's 105 pounds. So it's two people can carry it, like with a chair easily. What I do with our kayak trailer, it's technically a boat trailer. So what we do is we pull up to the launch, we take all the straps off, we put all of our gear in it, and then we tie ropes to the front, and we actually back the trailer right in and float it off instead of having to carry it. But it can carry, and we have carts to carry it as well. So yeah, so that's the new Doss King Zeus, and there's only a few of them that have been picked up. But there's going to be more. There's a lot. They're in pretty high demand. When I was talking with Darren's guys up at Doss King, so
I feel relieved. You know why? Because there's a lot of guys our size. That's why, Jay. That's good. We got good.
Yeah, coverage. I'm looking forward to flipping a jig, standing in it on Saturday. I'm going to really give it a shot. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, Alicia would love to see a video of you standing in that. So I look forward to.
I will try.
See what you bring next Monday, that's for sure. Now, as Trevor has alluded to, it is bass opener for Zone 17. It's bass opener for a few areas, but for some, it's been open, and it's been open on all year round. But anything special planned for this weekend?
So we're busy. Let me think. So this weekend we're gonna head up to. I'm not sure where we're gonna go yet. Actually, I don't think Trevor can decide. I've thrown a couple things out at him, a couple locations, and he can't decide what he wants to do. We're going to go largemouth fishing. We have such good smallmouth fishing on Erie. If I'm going to go north, I just want to go largemouth fishing. And obviously, we're down here in Zone 16 and 19, which doesn't open for another week after this weekend.
Gotcha.
So we have to wait another 2 weeks. So yeah, we're gonna make the drive north, probably up to Lindsay and Peterborough, and we'll probably spend the night. So that's I kind of get what's the movie, like Hall Pass? I got a Hall Pass because it's Father's Day too, right on Sunday. So, but yeah, it's I got the Hall Pass to go fishing. Although I will be home in good time on Sunday to celebrate with the girls, of course. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. I know Trevor, dude. We have like, I don't know. We've been so good with the folks from Abu. Like we've been rigging rods and reels. Lots of new gear coming through the basement here. We're just looking forward to getting it wet. So
big shout out. I have to make a big shout out to Big Rock, who stepped up in a huge way. So to Debbie, to Paul Baltovich, and all those that work at Big Rock, you provided a lot of prizes to these kids. So a big shout out to you folks for doing that, because I'll tell you this, the amount of kids that would run up, grab their stuff and run back, like you could just see the excitement. It was like Christmas is what it was like. And I don't know, when you see that kind of joy, it's hard not to want to do it again. So again, I know it's hard, but needless to say, we will try to bring that kind of joy.
I think it's a good point, Scotty, that some of these, like in Ontario, a lot of folks may not realize this, but a lot of the big stores will buy direct from all the companies, Berkeley and Shimano and others. But a lot of the mom and pop stores that a lot of us go to, they don't buy direct. They don't have basically enough money to buy direct from their shop. And so they got to go through a distributor. And Big Rock is one of the biggest distributors in Canada. And they distribute all the brands, any brand you can think of, they distribute probably. And what's great is at some of these events is Debbie and others at Big Rock, they always step up and huge supporters of the fishing industry. So shout out to Big Rock, and they do a great job at what Big Rock does a great job to me is they really try to keep in mind what local shop they're working with. So for example, like they even have accounts at Canadian Tire, and I've had Big Rock dealers who reach out to me that don't know the area. This is great. They don't know, like where I live in Norfolk, for example. They reach out to me and they're like, Jay, what should we be carrying at Canadian Tire in Delhi, Canadian Tire in Simcoe? What works well? And, and we talk about, like down here, we have smallmouth bass, northern pike, walleye. The yellow perch fishing in the Inner Bay is probably one of the best in the Great Lakes. And so they do a great job at having the right tackle available to local anglers. So they're keeping the stores happy, and they're keeping the anglers happy. And a lot of that goes out to Big Rock and those distributors that do that for us, that keep anglers happy. It's fantastic. So
I have to say, with all of the wonderful stuff that's going on, with Shimano, with Big Rock, kids derbies, and getting folks into fishing, showing parents that there is options out there for you. Like you, as much as you might want an entry level, your child may have progressed over the summer, and now they're looking for some high end stuff. At the end of the day, Jay, that's why you're here. That's why Jim's here, and a host of other characters like the Wojtrowskis and a few others that are able to guide people in the direction they need to go. It's not about selling Shimano. It's not about selling Big Rock. It's about selling fishing. And to me, I don't care who gets us there, as long as you're helping out. And to all those big companies, the Berkeley.
There was a great thread. There was a great thread just on this very topic, Scotty, this week on Facebook about, I think it was a chat board in London, one of the London, Ontario boards. And there was a parent on there who's, and I don't know exactly what they said. I don't word for word, but basically what they said was, please help. My kid keeps breaking fishing rods. Right. So they have a child who keeps breaking the fishing rods. What do we do? Everybody who chimed in that I know, so there's a lot of folks in that group that I know, and these are people from who have different sponsors, different affiliations. Everyone said ugly stick. Like everybody's like ugly stick, ugly stick, ugly stick, ugly stick. Like, and I'm sure a lot of them don't even own ugly sticks anymore, but we all had an ugly stick, right? Amen. I know the ugly stick saved me a lot of money around this house. Yep. And I still think there's days that I should make Trevor use an ugly stick, but he still breaks more rods than Dad. But like but what's great about what I'm telling this story for is that there's so many people out there that, we have our brand loyalties, but at the end of the day, it's important for anglers to be happy. And if in this case, if it's a parent who's tired of spending money on fishing rods, and no amount of money will prevent a fishing rod from getting broken, because like I find that some of the higher end rods break easier than the lower end rods, right? But if you want to keep a child or someone new to fishing engaged with fishing, get them something durable like an ugly stick. And then when they're ready, just like you said, Scotty, when you're ready to move up and try something else, what's great about fishing is there's all these tiers of how much, like we always tell people, find your happy place. What's your price point? What do you want to do? And we will find a rod or reel that fits that sort of, we got to balance performance with money, and we can get you there easily. Yeah. And all the local shops will do that all the time. I think that's so important.
And I have to say, Ugly Stick sort of taught us, it was the springboard for a lot of us when it came to what it was that we liked about certain rods. Ugly Stick was extremely forgiving. So when you hook that big fish, got it hooked in cover, whatever, and we didn't really know how to get rid of a snag, thankfully we had a few Ugly Sticks, so we didn't look stupid when we got back to the dock and all the rods were broken. But I will say, Ugly Stick was a great entry-level drug, or gateway drug, as they say.
Yep.
To get the loves of my life, which is, of course, the Shimano that I have the luxury of using now. But I'm sure
absolutely
everybody is the same.
Well,
this is awesome.
I think that some people they're scared to make that jump. So, but if they can make that jump with an educated choice based on, and even when it comes to kayaks, like when we were up at Doss King, there was a guy. I asked him, how tall are you? You got to be 6'5". He's 6'5". He's probably got 40 pounds on me. Like dude, like big. Like I think he bench presses oak trees. Like this guy was big.
Wow.
And he's picking up a kayak, and he doesn't have told me, he goes, I don't have a lot of money. I'm not going to get a pedal drive. It's too much. But Trevor and I helped him pick up a kayak. Heck, we even helped him tie it to his car. He drove from Trenton to buy the kayak, 4 hours to Collingwood. And what's great is, and shout out to, I think his name's Terry. He's been messaging me on Instagram. He's rigging it up and he's asking me questions. So I've been talking to him off and on all day about how to rig his kayak and what he should do. So he sends me a picture and we go back and forth. Dude, and there's a guy who I've never met before. And since Saturday, I've talked to him like 5 times through Instagram, just helping him rig up his kayak because he's going to go fish the Bay of Quinte this weekend. He's just great. So yeah, dude, I get as much fun helping people as catching fish. I truly do, man. I probably more so, to be honest.
I'll be honest, this is probably why I love doing this, is we are spreading so much information and a wealth of knowledge to folks that may already know, maybe they don't know, but at the end of the day, anybody that's in the comments or in the audience right now can say, if you want to learn a little bit more, ask the question on CFN or tune into the next live broadcast at some point, because we're going to be doing this for a while. At some point, we'll get to whatever question it is that you have. And I know a few guys that know the answer. So,
awesome. And I hope that I see a lot of fish pictures this weekend, because it's Father's Day weekend and it's free to fish in Ontario. So no excuses, go fishing. I hope that social media is covered with fishing pictures this weekend from a lot of friends who are here tonight in the chat and beyond. It's so important to do that. And you know what? You don't even have to be a dad. Just go fishing. Anyone can go this weekend. So just because it's Father's Day, don't think you have to be a dad to go. Anyone can go. So everyone should get out.
100%. Jay, on that note, I will leave you. I can't thank you enough and the entire Barnucz family for all your support with CFN and, of course, the angling community. What you bring to the angling community, as you just shared with us, and what you continue to bring to us on a regular basis. We're so glad to have you around, man.
Thanks, Scotty. It's been a great show. And I'll have another video next Monday to share of my, let's hope, adventures, not misadventures with the new kayak. Okay.
Well, Alicia did say she wanted a blooper reel. So
I know. And she will be the first. She will get she will get a personal message if I tank out of that big kayak. I will send that to her personally for sure. Might even do a live stream for her if I end up swimming in the Kawartha Lakes this weekend. Thanks, Scotty.
Cool. Right on, dude. You take care, man. Have a great weekend. All the best.
All right, man.
As always, we are pleasure to have the Big Jims of the world, the Lawrence Gunthers of the world, and of course the Barnucz family, who bring an element to our community that is second to none. And I'll tell you, it's an honor to be able to share time with them every Monday. And of course, the group chats that we have behind the scenes, we're like one big family. We're all brothers, and it's really special to be a part of. I'll be honest with you. I don't take it for granted, and I look forward to when that phone dings and I know it's Jim or I know it's Jay or Lawrence for that matter. I'm always intrigued to see what they have to say, because they always got their nose deep into whatever that's going on, and they can't wait to share it with you folks. On that note, again, for all those who are in the Duberville area, Wawa, Ontario, I'll be driving up your way starting on Wednesday. Of course, it is the Duberville Walleye Championship of the NOWT, the second stop. Look forward to possibly having the Power Hour right up in Duberville. Hopefully we get Wi-Fi connection, and I'll be able to share the link with a few of the anglers that we're going to be able to feature. I really am looking forward to you folks meeting Chantal. She's my queen of the north. She's a great gal. Christelle, Jessica, those three, what a team they make. But of course, Chantal, this is her host tournament. She's the one that's coordinated on this, and if she is anything like she has been at the Matagami, where I've seen her, and some of the other venues, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going on at Duberville. In the meantime, as Jay said, get out fishing, get out and catch yourself a bass, get out and enjoy a great weekend. The weather's supposed to turn. I know it's a little bit cool. I know we got into some wind and some rain, but it's supposed to turn around. There is a bit of a heat wave, from what I understand, coming next week. So if you don't get out this weekend, next week is definitely going to be the time, because I think everything is pretty much open at that point. Perhaps, no, Muskie's got to be open now too. I don't know anything that's closed, to be honest with you, after this weekend. So all those who are going to get out, we're looking forward to seeing the pics. As Jay said, in the meantime, have yourselves a great week. Stay classy. Love you all. All the best. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.